Mobile and fixed line number portability in Trinidad and Tobago is on stream for implementation in 2016. The Telecommunications Authority hosted its 23rd ICT Open Forum to share more with the public about this new development. As CEO Chris Sicharan outlined, TAT embarked on implementation as far back as 2010. In 2011, its nationwide customer satisfaction survey showed that there was a high demand by customers for this service. After 2 rounds of consultation, by 2012, the framework was finalized.
Since that time, there has been considerable effort expended by the authority and by service providers who are involved in the process by their seeking to have their networks suitably configured to implement number portability, both on the fixed and mobile networks.
During the planning stage, service providers and TAT agreed on a governance framework as well as a methodology.
Methodology adopted is referred to as all calls query, which involves the interrogation of the routing of each call in order that the call be routed to the correct network. An essential element for this process is the requirement to have a centralized database, or what we refer to as the clearinghouse.
In February 2016, service providers signed a contract with Porting XS of the Netherlands.
We, as Porting XS, are strangers for you over here, but we have implemented number portability around the world in several countries, and we hope to share all the knowledge that we have with the regulator and the operators in Trinidad and Tobago also.
Already implemented in other countries in the Caribbean, number portability will be fully on stream in Trinidad and Tobago by September 2016.
Ladies and gentlemen, in a competitive fixed line or mobile market, providers compete to attract customers, increase market share, and increase revenue. For the consumers of these services, then this environment should result in lower prices, better quality of service, more innovative services and products, as well as a greater liberty to choose both services and service providers.
Since 1995, countries across the globe have been implementing number portability.
And the UK and Hong Kong were one of the first countries, and the Netherlands, where I came from, was also an early adapter of number portability. In these days, processes were new. There weren't standard updates for number portability in operator systems, so it was very inconvenient and it took long as a process. The idea is that it's what we call recipient-led, that you go to a new operator, have a contract, and that the operator ends that contract with the old operator, and that you lose as less service as possible while you're doing that. You probably also know by now why number portability. Is it for operators? No, not really. Is it for the regulator? No, they do it for the consumers. The consumers never see Porting XS as a supplier. We're in the back, you're talking to operators, and what we do is that we deliver a simple solution for operators to communicate with each other and to know where each, and that every operator knows where each number is. So this is the easiest picture I could make from it. That thing in the middle called CRDB is a database with all the numbers of Trinidad, but also all the ported numbers. And we communicate with operators by automatic processes how those numbers are divided or going from one to the other.
Simply put, Porting XS ensures a smooth porting process for operators and subscribers.
Many may ask, why a clearinghouse? Why don't just the operators talk directly? And the real reason behind that is, remember, the operators that are negotiating the port, they're competitors. And almost by definition, there's going to be a dispute, right, between the recipient and the donor. You know, the donor would say, you never sent me the porting request, and the recipient say, yes, I sent it to you 3 days ago. By having that single neutral clearinghouse, it removes the opportunities for dispute.
Service providers also came together to agree on customer procedures for porting.
TAT, along with one of the working groups, has worked so well together that our customer procedure document essentially has us singing from the same hymn book. This is actually so as to ensure minimum quality of standard when customers go into any of our offices to request a port.
Apart from the clearinghouse, there are two key terms that subscribers should become familiar with.
In the number portability world, we refer to the new operator as the recipient operator, as that is the operator receiving the customer, and the number, to be quite honest. And the donor operator being the old operator, as that's the operator who's donating the customer and the number. They're giving up the customer and the number. So that's the typical terms that we use when referring to the various parties.
Here's how mobile number portability works. When you decide to port, make sure that your number is active and payments are up to date. It is also important to be aware of any contractual obligations. Then, visit your chosen provider, taking the documents required to request the port. You will be asked to demonstrate ownership of the phone, so you must have the handset and a valid form of personal identification. The CSR will also conduct a credit check on your account with the donor operator. As long as your handset is unlocked, you are then ready to complete the porting request form.
This contract, however, works alongside the operator's existing processes. It doesn't replace your standard new postpaid or prepaid or fixed line activation forms. This is an additional document specific for the porting process.
Your porting request is then created.
So the CSR goes on to the existing CRM system. She signs up the customer, creates the porting request, and that information, of course, goes across to our clearinghouse.
Sometime after the request goes to the clearinghouse, the donor is informed.
So the donor on their end does some checking. Is this number lost or stolen? Is it under judicial review? Is Peter owing us bills for the past 6 months? So they do a number of steps in terms of checking, and that information is later relayed to the clearinghouse in a yes, Peter can go or no, Peter cannot go form.
However, while at the new provider's store, after the porting request is created, you are given a new SIM card.
Because we're going to assume at this stage that he is being allowed to port. So he's given a new SIM card, it's not yet active, and he's told to hold on to that SIM card. His existing number remains active in his handset.
You are then asked to send a free SMS to a special number using your old SIM card.
And that SMS is essentially the validation message that says, yes, I did go to this potential new operator and made a request to port.
A few minutes later, you will receive an SMS from the clearinghouse acknowledging your porting request. You will leave the new operator's store with 2 SIM cards.
Peter will eventually receive an SMS from the clearinghouse telling him when his port is going to be completed and when he can toss the old SIM and put his new activated SIM into his phone.
Once the port is approved by the donor operator, you are activated on the recipient's system and the clearinghouse sends a final SMS. After swapping the SIM cards, you are then ready to make a call on your new network. For fixed line porting, the process is quite similar. Generally, the mobile service from the new provider should be ready within 3 days, and for fixed line service within 5. However, there may be reasons for your port request to be rejected.
There are various stages of the process at which the port request can be rejected.
Don't make the mistake of disconnecting before you start the port. Make sure your number is still active.
If the customer is postpaid and has not made payments up until their last issued bill, the donor network in this case will reject the port request. If the customer is in a bad or suspended state as well.
If the number was reported as stolen or under a judicial process, so there's a number of reasons why a particular account may be tied up in a court matter. So, once that is flagged by the donor, we don't want to interrupt a port process because of a port request.
So if the customer has already ported within the last 180 days, the CRDB will send an appropriate fault code. If the customer doesn't send a confirmation SMS within 8 hours, the port will time out.
The incorrect account type I indicated, that's more a mobile reject reason. So for example, if you had a prepaid mobile phone but the porting request indicated it was a postpaid, that would be rejected by the donor. But of course, in the case of fixed line, because we don't have prepaid or postpaid, is relevant. So that shouldn't kick in for fixed line.
If the port request is rejected, we will receive the reject reason, as well as the customer will get an SMS, and then we contact the customer to let them know what was the reason for the port being rejected, so that when they submit a new port request, it is completed successfully.
There are also some basic business rules to keep in mind.
You're generally allowed to port once every 6 months. So you can't port every month. You can't port here and then next month you say you're just going to change port and port and port, right? So after you port, you have 6 months, to enjoy the service of your new operator. But after that 6 months elapses, you are free to port at no charge to another operator, back to your old or to a new operator. So that's one business rule. But there is an allowance for a regret purchase. You have a period of 10 days in which you can actually report, and you have to report it to your new operator. So you have, as the customer, you have to report it to the recipient operator, letting them know of the services used. Once you've done that, the operator has 5 days to resolve the issue. And if it's still not resolved, then you are allowed to now port back to your first operator, for want of a better word. So there's provisions for the regret purchase, right? But if you don't say anything to your recipient and the 10 days go by, then you have to sit in for the 6 months.
There is a form of redress for customers when the service is launched. It is envisaged that there may be problems. There may be teething problems. So the operators are going to work together with TAT to resolve any customer issues that may occur. TAT has a customer service line, 800 TAT. It's a free phone call from anyone. You can complain to TAT. You can complain to the recipient operator that you went to. And there will be avenues for your complaints as a customer to be redressed.
All customers holding active mobile or fixed line accounts are free to port at any time. As such, whether you port or not, you will be billed for this facility. Both mobile and fixed line telephone accounts will each be billed $1 per year. These charges will be automatically applied by providers in two 50-cent debits in January and July of each year. Implementing number portability in Trinidad and Tobago in 2016 is not only a response to customer demand, but according to the Telecommunications Act, service providers have an obligation to do so. The journey to making this reality was an intense collaborative effort between the regulator and service providers, and in moving forward will serve to develop a healthy, competitive environment.